Hello, this is Sophie Needelman, and I'm going to be discussing the joys and potential of educational tourism and Jewish heritage travel around the world. I'm going to leave the screen on these gorgeous pictures, and you'll soon find out where they're from if you cannot already guess. Okay, so the problem I'm interested in addressing is that there are many educational technologies available and many educational tourism trips available, but no one is using all of these technologies cohesively to be able to optimize the technologies we have for every part of a tour all at once. There are technologies for individual experiences within a travel experience, a trip, an educational tour, but there isn't one cohesive umbrella technology or program that sort of embodies the best of all of this, and that is what I'm interested in creating, essentially, hopefully one day. This is sort of my rough version of what I think it could look like. Along these lines, another problem that I'm interested in addressing is that most Jewish educational tourism focuses on travel to Israel, and most educational programming within the Jewish realm focuses on Israel in terms of where Judaism has existed in the world and is existing in the world currently. Most other travel technologies also focus on other types of niche travel like adventure travel or family travel or culinary travel, but Jewish travel, Jewish heritage travel is, I think, an untapped market that could really be expanded beyond just travel to Israel. So upon addressing these issues, I would first like to discuss Sales mapping Jewish education. He discusses that educational opportunities should promote appreciation for Jewish traditions. Travel to Israel epitomizes the idea of Jewish traditions in two ways. Travel to Israel, that is. The wandering Jew stereotype holds true in that over the centuries, Jews have been transient people out of need or exile or just because it was God's will. By embracing travel as an educational opportunity, we are taking this phenomenon into our own hands by intentionally bringing ourselves into new and different spaces. Travel as a reality of contemporary life allows us to control where we spend our time, our money, and our educational efforts. Travel to Israel also allows us to appreciate Jewish traditions, as Sales emphasizes, by bringing us to the very sites where these traditions arose, the land of Israel itself. As diasporic Jews especially, I think it's important to also experience how these traditions have evolved as they have spread across the globe, like as how they've evolved into the United States, which we are experiencing. I think this is why Jewish heritage travel and Jewish educational tourism is important in other parts of the world. In the U.S., in Morocco, which is the specific country that I'm going to be talking about today. So a few months ago, as you can see in the pictures, I went to Morocco with my family on a family vacation and enjoyed a beautiful week of discovering how similar Arabic is to Hebrew, how similar the Quran is to the Torah, how similar Islam is to Judaism. And it was such a blessing to experience Muslim culture firsthand in a safe, inviting, tension-free environment, which is something that's sadly not available to me in the United States or in Israel. Every time I'm in Israel as a Jew, I have a very Jewish experience, and it has been hard for me at least to really experience other cultures and other religions and other practices within Israel because it's always so much about the Jewish experience there, which is great, but I think we can sort of extend that conversation. While I was in Morocco, I experienced nothing but hospitality and humor and warm welcomes from all people I met on my travels. I discussed being Jewish and having traveled to Israel at various points of the trip, which was not something I was expecting to really disclose to anyone. We sort of went in knowing that, it's a Muslim country and we weren't sure what the politics were like and how the people would be. But we very unexpectedly had awesome conversations about Israel and about being Jewish, and we were, the whole time, everyone we talked to treated us like long-lost cousins, basically, which was amazing. And it was also beautiful to discover that Morocco is really proud of its Jewish background, and it celebrates its Jewish influences on its art and cooking and culture, and the presence is really still there, which is truly amazing. So my solutions to these problems that I was discussing is to try to streamline the various technologies that are available for tourism and educational tourism, and sort of put them under one umbrella and take the best of these technologies and combine them. And also to use travel around the world and the experiences we can have as Jews in other parts of the world to promote cultural connections in Israel. I think that, well, obviously I'm a huge supporter of Israel, and travel to Israel is so important. There's a lot we can get and bring to Israel by traveling to other places where people have coexisted for centuries. So the program I have developed, which I'm going to walk you through in a second, I promise, is first of all, it's a program that I've been putting together, or been thinking about at least, since returning from Morocco, and I'm hoping to collaborate with actually the tour guide that brought us around. He has a tour company and is really interested in marketing to Americans and American Jews, and that's sort of the market I'm interested in as well. So I'm putting together sort of the I'm his American representative, and I've worked in travel before. So this is sort of the beginnings of what my ideas were, and for the purpose of this project, I did sort of expand my ideas and formalize them a little bit and put them on the website that I had already been creating. So some of this is from before, but the sample program I'm going to show you is actually arose from this project, which I'm very excited about. So just in terms of how I established the program, the sample program, I used Schwab's commonplaces for analyzing an educational setting. The subject matter addressed in this program would not only have to do with the history and culture of Morocco, but also the various ways in which cultures interact in Morocco between Muslims, Arabs, native Berbers, Jews, and French. This similar sort of phenomenon is something student travelers might have already had familiar with in their own great American melting pot society, as well as in their own understanding of cultural influences in Israel, which they could have probably also studied and experienced firsthand as well. So the idea of cultures colliding is not necessarily something new to student travelers. My goal with this program is to expose students to other contexts in which different cultures have lived side by side in order to learn from what has worked in other countries and address what we can apply from other parts of the world to cross-cultural connections in Israel. This, of course, also requires special care when it comes to addressing the student's milieu, as Schwab again encourages, in order to generate a collaborative and productive curriculum. The milieu of learning leading up to this sort of trip that I'm envisioning is most likely full-time or even secondary Jewish school, day school, or after-school programming, which includes education about the history of Israel. That's a pretty standard. I can assume that most students are coming in with some awareness about the history of the Jews and history of the Jews in Israel. It may also have included Jewish learning trips to Israel, so this might not be the first time students have been on a Jewish learning trip. I carefully consider the existing biases and relationships Jewish students may have to other Muslim countries, and the relationship they may have to Jewish presence in other parts of the world beyond Israel, assumptions about Africa as a continent, because Morocco exists on Africa, it's in Africa, a developing grasp of the concept of colonization and what it has meant for parts of the world under European control, etc. So all of these things are biases and elements of a student's milieu that they may be bringing into this learning experience. Finally, I'm especially drawn to Schwab as an inspirational source for this project because in his discussion about curriculum making, he emphasizes the embodiment of curriculum. And I think that travel and experiencing something firsthand is as experiencing something firsthand and in its primary source is the ultimate form of curricular embodiment. Travel allows us to not only experience but also contribute to these environments, cultures, places, and people we're studying by not only changing them by being there, but also being changed by them. So now I am pleased to present to you the website I've been working on. The name of the company I'm developing is Morocco Educational Tours, and it's operated by Bowina Tours. This is the tour guide that I'm partnering with, the tour operator in Morocco on the ground, and Outbound Babe Travel Concierge. That's what I'm calling my own personal travel concierge services that I sort of have worked on the side as I've been involved in the travel industry leading up to this point. So as you can see, the mission statement is that Morocco Educational Tours utilizes Morocco as a rich site of Muslim, Jewish, Arab, French, and Native African historical and contemporary influences to develop tools of cross-cultural engagements between travelers from different backgrounds that can be applied to communities of diversity worldwide. So you've been looking at these pictures, and here I have a breakdown of some of the types of tours that we're going to do: school programs, educational seminars, budget travel for people studying abroad, maybe in Europe that have a free weekend, that sort of thing. So all of this is just sort of what I've been working on leading up to this point. Some of this stuff is still in the works: city guides for each city, sample itineraries. A lot of this is, as I mentioned, we're working on it as we speak. But the section I would like to draw your attention to is this sample program, which is sort of the framework I developed in response to this assignment for the performance task. So I'm going to read what this says. There are many technologies available for specific needs of educational tourism, and there are many educational tourism niche markets. However, there's no single educational tourism technology that lends itself to the unique needs of the Jewish niche market at every stage of the travel experience. So this sort of summarizes what I've been talking about. It breaks down what you can do before, during, and after your trip, what technologies this provides. So I'm going to just introduce you to some of the elements here. So the first thing you would do is plan your trip, right? The logistics of your, what to pack and familiarizing yourself with Morocco. This is some information just about Morocco, about the Moroccan culture, what to expect based on the time of year you're there. And I'll also be adding, packing lists and weather charts, and this is really just about the logistics and travel insurance. There's a lot that goes into prepping a trip, especially overseas. Then the next place we would go is this connection site, and this is really exciting for me and important because I'm really interested in travelers connecting socially before a trip, and sometimes that means being able to connect in person if they're all going from one school or one institution, but sometimes that means connecting online socially. So I would be interested in using something like Facebook, which is very familiar to a lot of students, or even something like Schoology, which is more of a closed system and closed network where people can use the technology both for education and for just sharing about themselves and harnessing everyone in one place online. So that is something that I would be interested in, especially because in community-centered learning, I guess, we would need to engage, obviously, with current social norms of communication on social media, which is, very popular and used really widely across the globe. We're emphasizing community in this connect section. by creating a community, by really connecting people no matter where they are in the world. The beauty of travel and technology is that they really allow us to defy physical barriers, that it would otherwise inhibit communal engagement. Not being close to each other geographically, that is not something that needs to affect a communal experience necessarily anymore with this sort of technology. The next sort of prep section that I'm going to take you to is the read section, and this would also be something to discuss leading up to the trip. Books, if you're interested, or after, before, during, or after, if you're interested in fiction and nonfiction books about Morocco, they would be housed in this section as a list. It would link maybe to places to buy the books online. This article section would be a place for an educator to post relevant articles, and you can even break it down by day if you wanted to give reading assignments for each day of an itinerary based on the sites you're going to be visiting the next day, etc. And this is also another place where the city guide section is another place where we can, just provide more information about each city that you're going to be visiting. Again, whether it's to prepare to be in that city, or to help plan your time in that city, or to support the actual curriculum that's being developed. I'm going to take us back now. So as we move on, I'm going to take us next to the listen section. And this is something I'm really excited about, is the idea of having audio guides for different elements on the trip. So I would be interested in, here you can see I've broken it down by city. I'm interested in either developing or both developing a sort of podcast system where you can have a guide, an audio guide ready to download on your phone, that you can sort of take yourself around a city, especially if you're not with one whole group. So if you were doing more of a self-guided tour, you would have these lectures essentially preloaded, so you can go to a place and even have directions. You can tell people, walk to the end of the street and turn left. You should see a sign that says this. I think there's a lot of potential in producing audio guides that I know a lot of travel companies and travel guides like Rick Steves have already done, but that could really involve the educational curriculum as well. Along those lines, if there was a group of people traveling at once, a group of students, I would be interested in using more of a voice thread type option, where maybe there's an audio guide broken up into sections, and students can somehow comment and add their own feedback onto the lecture itself by experiencing the lecture, seeing what the lecture is talking about, by standing in the actual place they're talking about, and then adding their own commentary or observations or questions. And this would be a tool that's more used for synchronous travel, if many people were traveling within one group at the same time. So I think there's a lot of potential for the listening component of the tour. Along those lines, there are lots of interesting mapping tools that are used, especially for teaching geography. But I am interested in sort of combining the various mapping tools that we already use socially. So if you're in a new place and you need a place to eat or a hotel to rent, if you're doing more of an independent travel experience, we can use tools like Yelp and TripAdvisor to base our decisions on reviews from other people, which is something we already do. So I think those are excellent tools. There's an interesting tool called Trip-O-Matic, which is a way to sort of map out your own itinerary. If you are, again, doing something a little more independent, you can read comments about how long something takes, how to best plan a time within a city based on where the sites are located. It's a really interesting website, and it's something that I would be interested in using. And we can take you there. It's a travel guide, and this is sort of an outline of what it looks like. But you can, as you can see here, map out your own trip and have it with you as sort of a virtual itinerary. Let's see. And there's also National Geographic has a lot of really great mapping tools to use in the classroom and to sort of map out and note not only the geographical elements of a city or a destination, but you can add your own, various tools and elements. It's a really creative tool that they provide. I'll take you there for one moment. So as you can see, it's a really interactive map. You can go up to Morocco. There it is. And you can use these tools here to add elements to the map itself and add layers and legends. And it's a really great tool that's not only awesome for geography, but just to expand using a map as an educational tool, which I also think is sort of a dying art. I think that's something that's so important to have an awareness about, and it's a great way to visualize a space, from a bird's eye view. The next element, sort of getting into capturing reflections and other assignments. Here's an example I was imagining of introducing yourself. So the idea would be that you could go to this page and then somehow in the comments you would be able to write an introduction about yourself, and it would be sort of like a blog roll of people responding, similar to what we have on Schoology. And this would be a place where educators can post topics or assignments or questions, and people can share just by sort of contributing to this blog format, which may or may not be also available to the public if people's parents or family or friends want to keep up with what's going on. And that actually brings us to our share section, which is what I envision students would use to share pictures and videos. This would be a place to capture people's videos if they're YouTube links or Vimeo. This would, just be a hub for all of those resources that people have been pooling independently. Similarly, we have a place for photos. If every different person on the trip has an album on Facebook or another photo site, then they would be able to link to it here. And then if you needed a picture for a project, you would be able to access someone else's pictures as well in this database. And then there's also a way to, of course, submit pictures directly to us if you wanted us to be able to have it for the website or a testimonial, etc. And also that would be a great place for family and friends and parents to check in on the trip as it's happening. The final section is the Create section, which is a really exciting, this is probably the pinnacle of the travel experience I'm interested in. There's a really interesting website called WeShare through EF Tours, and it allows students to use the media they've been gathering and comments they've been gathering and put together a sort of online journal. Projects that they can use also for accreditation. If they go into a tour with a topic, a program topic that they're interested in, sort of seeing the country through that lens, and they can gather things throughout their experience, gather pictures and videos and their journal entries, and sort of put it together in a polished project similar to this, even, that is a video or it's accessible online, and they'd be able to put together their own project, which could then be used for school credit, both high school and college credit. And that is something that this company is already doing, and I think that's a really awesome way to incentivize students to capture everything and really consistently engage with their travel experience at least in through one aspect of something they're interested in, whether it's arts or food or history or a specific political issue. So that is the sample program. So just to recap, before your trip, you would be using this technology. You'd be able to meet socially online to make initial introductions, express any pre-trip reflections, familiarize yourself with materials, intro lectures and audio guides, read up on the inspiring literature emerging from this country, brainstorm topics for your personalized final project, that sort of thing. During the trip, you'd be able to listen to audio lectures for self-guided visits to historical sites and cultural destinations. You'd be able to listen to interactive audio and visual presentations and add comments of your own for synchronous learning with your peers. Reflect on your daily experiences with blog posts to share with family and friends. Capture and share photos and video, and gather media tailor-made for your specific learning project that you're putting together. And then after the trip, you can, of course, continue to stay connected socially, continue to share your photos and videos with one another, as well as on social media for family and friends. Continue to reflect on your travels with post-trip journaling, and put together and present your final project to receive school credit. So that is the program, the Morocco Educational Tours program in a nutshell, the sample program I'm interested in putting together. It is already in the works, and I look forward to hopefully being able to launch it sometime very soon, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, that is the project, and you can, of course, feel free to visit. The URL is morocco.com, and once you're there, you can access the sample program on this menu or also from the home page. Thank you very much.